Welcome to a new video about my quick tips. Today I will look over the mandatory and the proximity snap and the snap alignments. Both of them are scroll snap behaviors. That means this allowing you to tell the browser that a specific content or the specific content of an element with a scroll bar should behave in a specific way. Here we have like a mandatory snap. In the main container you're setting here the scroll snap type, then the direction, and then the mandatory for that example here. And what it does is that if the user tries to scroll inside of this container, it will check that the elements that are inside kind of be completely visible. It's not completely correct. It's more or less be like when you're defining inside of the container some snap points or like specific locations where the scroll bar is valid, then this mandatory will look that this snap points has to be reached or the scroll bar has to be in a position that be snapped to a valid point. Here I have a container that containing multiple images, and if you scroll and go above the center, it will like go to the next snap point because it's nearer than the last one. If we're looking at the HTML, so you see here like the mandatory snap with the scroll type X mandatory. And we have here like 4 images, and all of them have a snap center. The snap center is also a other like property that is required because this defining kind of valid snap points. Each element of this one like saying it is valid to have this element centered in the screen. There are also other ones we will later go over, but overall the scroll snap align center like telling that the center of the element is a valid like snap point. And also it means that the scroll bar or the content has to be centered inside of its container or inside of the valid or visible content. And this forces the containers to be in a state where the center of this container here is placed in the center of the viewport of this container. So we also have a proximity snap. This means it tries to kind of like makes the content be like snapped but in different valid states. We have the same setup here, also a snap center, but now the user is allowed to have a centered position. If I go too much to the left, it snaps into the position that we had here with mandatory, but the proximity kind of says there is also a state where it kind of is in between two snap points, and there's like an allowed area where the user can stay. That's kind of all. It's more like an not too much limited snap, because this kind of allows the user to also reach points where it's also okay, but not like snapping it in that amount that you see sometimes here. Okay, then let us go over the different snap alignments. Here we start with the start alignment that is defined with scroll snap align start. This property you are setting on the containers inside of your like scrollable content, and this tells the browser that if it snaps, like all of them have, by the way, the mandatory, you see here like snap mandatory. That means all of these containers I'm now showing using this mandatory. And what it does is you already can see that it snaps perfectly like every element at the start. That means you see that always it checks that the first content here like is aligned from the start of this container inside of the start of the main container here. Then we look at the center align. What this does, I can quickly go here. You see that the element here on the left side kind of is cut it off and it's not in the half, and also here, but you can see that if I'm scrolling, like this element here is centered inside of the main viewport of this one. This means there's also like points at the end and at the beginning where it's kind of not snapping as you would expect, but after that it will snap the images perfectly in the center of the viewport. Yes, that's kind of the functionality of the scroll snap align center, because it aligning like the scroll snap align kind of telling the browser where like a valid snap is. And with scroll snap align center, you're telling the browser that it should try to like align the elements centered inside of the center of the main viewport. You also can do all of this, what I'm explaining, with the type Y axis, but because it's better visible with the X axis, I'm showing it all in this. So the next one, you can again see that it kind of like allowing to have this state, but you have the end alignment. Exactly the same as the last one. It snaps it has a valid snap point at the end of the elements. And at the beginning and at the end, it could, not matching with the right one. Like also if I'm going here, you see that the start alignment not is like aligned, because at the end of the element, the user should also be able to see the last element. And if it would snap now, it would not, like it would cut off the last element. Same for the center, is kind of you are allowed to have it at the beginning and at the end, but at the scroll end or scroll snap align end, the user is allowed to also see the beginning. But if I'm now like reaching the first point, you see that now the last element is perfectly aligned. And yes, because this is like the perfect alignment for the end, you will see all elements and it will automatically snap to a valid snap point. That's kind of all. I hope you liked the video and subscribed, and hopefully I see you in the next video.